Welcome, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to our very first episode of Getting Down to Business. I'm Ashley Curtis.
And I'm Jill Brown. We're your hosts for this podcast, connecting students with employers, leadership opportunities, internships, and the many resources at USF. And today, for our first episode, we have gone big. I mean, huge.
Yeah, tell me about it, Jill. I am so excited for our guest today because we have not only one, but two guests with us here on set.
Ooh, so let's get down to business with Graduate Programs and our guests, Eric Douthert and Janie Malson.
Hi, everyone. My name is Janie Malson. I am the Assistant Director for the Graduate Business Recruitment Team. We oversee the recruitment process and kind of helping students through the application process as well for all 16 programs across the Tampa Bay area.
And thank you both for having me. I'm Eric Douthert. I'm the Director of MBA Programs for the Muma College of Business. Oversee a portfolio of 4 different programs, including a professional evening program, a professional weekend program, online, as well as an executive program.
You two are two of my favorite people, so very excited to have you here today.
And before we dive into graduate programs and that whole arena, 16 programs, I can't keep track, I'd like to kind of get an idea. What motivates you? Do you have a certain mantra, book, something that helps inspire you that we could share with our audience?
Sure, yeah. I don't know if it's necessarily a mantra, but I try to live by a philosophy of being curious. I think that as I grew from being a child to an adult, I kind of lost some curiosity, and then having my own kids, I saw them, how curious they are about everything in life, and I realized I'm missing out by not trying to learn as much as I can in this one life that I have. So every day is a new day to learn something new.
Oh my gosh, I was thinking of curious and unafraid, right? Just stick your finger in that socket. That was the first visit. That was the first visit when his kids came to campus.
Yeah.
They were like right into the socket.
Yeah, they're very curious.
Anyway.
So I would say something that I really love is Brené Brown and all of her work and research on vulnerability and kind of shedding the armor that we put on that we've kind of developed through society and through our own experiences. It's just something that really speaks to me in my leadership and working with students, and that's what motivates me to be authentic in every space that I go into. And then my favorite kind of mantra is just be kind, because I think everything is rooted in kindness and kind of sharing experiences with other people.
So we're going to play a quick game. It's a word association game. So the first thing you think of when you see this word, spit whatever you feel out.
Starting with me.
Starting with you.
Oh boy, okay.
Are you ready?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
All right. Leadership.
Oh gosh, empathy.
Okay. Communication.
Open.
Success.
Happiness.
Like that. Team player.
Leadership.
Professionalism.
That one's hard.
It is
I
hard.
know.
It's a big word.
Executive presence.
Ooh.
Is that? It's 2 words. Is that allowed?
That's
yeah.
allowed.
All right.
I don't know.
No,
We can
you're
highlight it.
disqualified.
Where's our buzzer? Wait, I want to dive into a little bit to the leadership and empathy. What made that? That's kind of a unique. That wouldn't.
I just think that some of the most impactful leaders that I've had in my life, that's probably the most consistent thing among them, is they have a really strong sense of empathy and really put that in the forefront of everything that they do, and it's really helped them be really strong leaders. They can motivate, encourage people, and understand what makes the rest of their team really tick.
Very nice.
Okay. Thanks for playing the game.
Yeah.
That was fun.
That was
Good
fun.
words. So what paths led you both to USF?
Mine was kind of interesting, actually. So I was an English literature major in my undergrad with a minor in creative writing, planned to be an English professor specializing in American short story, actually. And then my last semester in my senior thesis, I had what I called a senior life crisis and realized that was not what I wanted to do. And so I actually kind of like rewrote my entire career path. I was really involved in higher education as a student. I was a peer leader. I actually taught first year experience. I was an orientation leader, like super involved. And then one of my mentors was like, why don't you think about admissions? Like, you're really good at talking to people. You love like building relationships. And so I started looking for that. And I visited St. Pete and loved it. I fell in love immediately. I haven't turned back. It was funny. I was actually paddleboarding for spring break before I graduated, and a manatee almost flipped me on my paddleboard. I was like, this is a sign. Like, I need to move to St. Pete. Like,
that's your sign.
This is it. And then I finally made my way here, and I've been here since 2018, and I love it.
Eric, your turn.
Oh, geez. So I grew up in the Tampa Bay area and actually went to USF for my bachelor's degree and was essentially hired out of my bachelor's program into, I had several jobs prior to that, but I guess my first like real job where I got to sit at a desk and that kind of thing. We won't even go into what I was doing something boring and, filing things before everything was digital and all that kind of stuff.
Dating yourself.
Right. Yeah, I know. But and then I said, you know what? One of the biggest perks to working at the university is the tuition benefits. And I said, I'm going to go back and get my graduate degree. So I got my MBA with zero intention of staying in higher education. And once again, I was recruited out of my master's degree to work for the College of Business. And lo and behold, all these years later, here I still am, and I'm now the director of the program from which I graduated from. And I couldn't be happier. I love what I do. I love the impact that we make on students' lives. And ultimately, I think the lesson here is be open to experience. And there's something called the happenstance learning theory, which is basically the more open I'm going to do a really terrible job of explaining what this is. So go Google it and learn on your own. But it's essentially the more open you are to experience, the higher likelihood of success will come to you. Because if you shut yourself off from new experiences, that's a missed opportunity, right? So my story is sort of like the perfect example of that because I had zero anticipation of staying in higher education, and yet I took the opportunity that was afforded to me, and I absolutely love what I'm doing today.
I love it.
I feel like no one's path is linear, so
Never is.
this
It's a winding road.
Once again, a perfect example. I mean,
Yep.
we could say the same, I think, too. So,
Yeah.
but no, what a great segue.
Yeah, so we want to dive a little bit more into the meat of why we're all here today, right? Graduate programs. I think first thing we want to ask you are, what are some of the common misconceptions about graduate programs?
I would say the number one misconception that I hear is that graduate education is unattainable. It's unreachable, and it's something that you have to prepare year and year and years for, and you have to be a certain number of years into your profession, which can be true for some programs, but I just think that that's a very kind of long-standing rumor that you have to be at a certain point or a certain position. And graduate education is really there just to be something that you can grab onto, learn new techniques and learn new skills, hone strengths that you already have. Because I'm a firm believer that we don't have weaknesses. We have skills that we just haven't developed yet. And so that's what graduate education is really there for.
One of the things I remember going back to before I went to graduate school, and I still think that to some extent some undergrad students have this misconception, is that all graduate degrees require some sort of thesis or dissertation, which particularly in the MBA College of Business is not true at the master's level. Some of them have options to do a thesis, but it's very rare that it's actually used. And particularly my world, the MBA world, nobody does a thesis. It's an option if you want to do the research with faculty, but nobody does one because it's all about practical, professional, putting those skills to use and building those leadership. It's very applied, right? Case-based learning and applied learning. So less emphasis on active research and more emphasis on applying to industry in the MBA College of Business. So that's one. The other is, and in some cases this can actually be true, but I've heard so many times that, it's not the right time for me to come to go to grad school. And I would venture to say that you could almost always make that argument for yourself that it's not the right time. You're either too busy with work, you're too tired from getting your undergraduate degree, you're getting married, you have kids on the way, and it's, you'd be amazed how much time you can create when you need to create time to do something that's important for yourself. So I think that's another misconception is if you wait for the right time, it's never going to show up. You have to just take the reins.
And something I want to add to that too is that I constantly have students who come up to me and say, I don't know what my career path is. I don't know what that next step is. What happens if I finish my program and I don't know? And they think that they have to have the next 10 to 15 years planned out. And the reality is they don't. I mean, the program, any of the graduate programs, especially that we offer, it really prepares them to have a toolkit so that they can actually pull information out later in their career, because the reality is they might not use everything they learn right away. And so they can bring that out in a promotion or something later on. And then we have so many different resources on campus that they can tap into that while they're in the program to figure out what that next step is.
You may have creeped into my next question.
Sorry.
No, that's a good thing. That is flow. So in the sense of benefits, like what can students expect to gain?
I would say the number one thing that I think graduate education really provides that no other space does is that networking in a non-competitive space.
Okay.
You know, when you're in professional organizations or associations, or you're, you know, in the community in some kind of group, there's always that sense of, you know, trying to, you know, receive a new business partner, a new client. And graduate education really provides that space where really the only thing that you're doing together is moving towards that goal, a similar goal and shared experience. And so you get to share ideas and you get to meet people from different backgrounds. Because I see higher education, and one of the things that I love so much about higher ed is that it's a microcosm of the world. And so there's so many experiences that you can get at the graduate level that you can't get anywhere else. So you get to share those perspectives and hear those different views and grow as a human, and then the other people can grow as well when they talk to you and get to challenge those perspectives.
Yeah, there's no question that networking, I think, once you're in a program where legitimately everyone is there because they want to be there, it's no longer, you know, right, I'm in school because I was told that I need to go to school, right? Like once you're in a graduate program, everyone is there by choice, and they worked really hard to get there, and they don't want to waste their time and they don't want to waste their energy. So getting to network with a community like that is extremely powerful. Another benefit that I'd like to point out is I think it's a huge confidence booster for a lot of graduates who come out with their MBA or an MS in management, whatever the program might be. Just the process, it's really hard to kind of quantify how it happens, but the process of going through that, the challenges that you overcome in a graduate program, and really just seeing how that relates to your current professional environment and how all of a sudden you become more active in your professional environment and can be a change agent, all those sorts of things. It's a real confidence booster. For some programs, we'll pick on MS in marketing, Master of Science in Marketing. You can become the expert in the room too, right? So it's such a deep dive into a specific subject that if you want to be the expert in the room on a specific subject, you go get a master's degree in that discipline, and 99 times out of 100, you're probably going to know more about it than everybody else in the room with you.
And it almost condenses 5, 10, 15 years of work experience into a program, because you're being exposed to different topics, research and theory, that you get to learn that confined space, sometimes in just a year.
So you all are starting to touch a little bit on some of the programs that the Muma College of Business offers. Why don't you walk us through what are all of the different programs that we offer?
I'll start with the MBA programs, and I'm going to hand it over to Janie to talk about the rest, because she definitely knows more about the rest of the suite. But in the MBA portfolio, which is our largest group of graduate programs within the college, we have about 1,000 students across our portfolio of MBA programs at any given year. We have a professional evening MBA, which is designed for early to mid-career, mostly early career working professionals, and that's based out of our Tampa campus. We also have a professional weekend MBA, similar design in terms of who it attracts. They tend to, however, be a little bit further on into their career. There's no written rule about that, though. That just tends to be who we attract. And that's out of our Sarasota Manatee campus. We also have an online MBA, which has really turned into a flagship for us. It's growing extremely fast. I think the flexibility that it affords, people can really kind of control their entire schedule with it, has really attracted a lot of students. It's very highly ranked. We also have our executive MBA. That's for your mid to senior level leaders who don't already have their master's degree and are eyeing C-suite positions, chief executive officer, chief financial officer, et cetera. And that's a cohort-based programs. It's a really sort of elite group. And that's also on our Tampa campus. And then lastly, I will mention we also have our VINIC Sport and Entertainment Management program, which is a dual degree between an MBA and an MS. And it's also a full-time cohort program, really hyper-focused on the sports industry and entertainment industry.
I don't know why Tampa Bay wouldn't be a
That's right.
good place for that.
And they get really their job placement rates in that program are unbelievable. And it's not people, they're working in the fields that they want to coming out of that program. It's really remarkable.
So on the other side of the master's programs, we have our specialized masters. So those are hyper-focused subject matter specific programs that, as Eric was saying, that makes them the expert in that field. So we have finance, accounting, marketing, management, supply chain management, hospitality management. We have a brand new program, information assurance and cybersecurity management, which is really exciting, formerly known as the Master of Science in Cybersecurity. Then we also have our business analytics portfolio. So it's the Master of Science in Business Analytics and Information Systems, our global online program, which is brand new, and then we also have our executive business analytics program, which, very similar to the executive MBA, is really for those who are established in their careers and they want to be in that cohort-based program, but they want to have minimal disruption to their workflow. So it's a weekend program. I do want to mention, too, that in the graduate space, we also have our PhD programs, the traditional PhD in business administration, as well as the PhD in big data analytics, and then our doctor of business administration. And then we have our non-credit side, which is our graduate certificates, which are kind of short and sweet options that they can like dip their toes in, use as electives, or they can also pursue postmasters.
And we have about 5 or 6 of those now, right? We have
quite a few.
Yeah, we have business foundations, which is sort of like a mini MBA, sort of the prerequisites to an MBA. You can do that and actually earn a graduate certificate. So that's particularly attractive for people coming from non-business backgrounds. You know, if they have an arts and sciences degree. I had a psychology degree before I went and got back my MBA. So, and in fact, more than half of our MBA students tend to come from non-business backgrounds. We love social sciences, for example. They tend to make great leaders in industry. So combining those backgrounds is really helpful. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent there. I was talking about grad certificates. We also have a business analytics certificate. We have human resources, a project management, entrepreneurship, and we have a new one coming online. So keep your eye out in creativity and innovation. So that one's not fully available yet, but it's coming down the line.
Nice.
Yep.
So I'm thinking, as you all are talking about these different programs, if I'm someone listening, I'm like, ooh, I like that program. Ooh, I like that program. And I can't decide, what do you recommend?
Yeah.
Or how?
It's a lot, right? I mean, it's can be overwhelming. It's
because
like,
I get Masters in Finance MBA. What's the difference? How do you?
Yeah, so I get that question so often, and especially when someone has many interests. The number one thing I always talk about, and I always recommend, and this also helped me when I was looking for my own master's program, is to look at the curriculum side by side.
Okay.
You know, kind of see what classes and the number of classes that really jive with you, that like bring joy or excitement. Because the last thing you want to do is be in a program that bores you. Not that any program bores people, but you know, they want to be something that like interests them or gets them excited, that you know makes them passionate about their future career.
Okay.
The other half of that, when you're not thinking about like the emotion kind of drive, I think about, you know, do you see yourself in a particular industry or line of work for a while? So to your question about finance versus MBA, the way that I kind of talk to those students who are interested in both, I say, do you see yourself working in financial services for the length of your career, or maybe 10 to 15 years? And then, you know, do you see yourself being the CFO? Do you see yourself pivoting in different spaces within that industry too? Then maybe you want to look at the finance degree, because that's literally just like a magnifying glass. You learn investment, you learn financial modeling. We have fintech now. We have the academic track if you want to do PhD. So there's a lot of options. But if you ever see yourself pivoting and moving into maybe a different industry or different functional area, that's where the MBA comes in really well, because you learn how to manage, you learn different functional areas, and then you can also specialize in finance. So you get a taste of it, or you can also concentrate in finance, so you can get a taste of it without committing the full degree.
This is helpful. Thank you. As we career coach such
Yeah.
students
Mhm.
when
Yeah.
they're at the junior, which I guess kind of goes to my unless you
Yeah,
do
no,
you
go
have
for
other-
it. No, that was good.
Can I add one
Yes.
thing? One thing
Yeah.
to that, really quick. So, and this is really sort of my, I guess, my own professional opinion, and maybe not necessarily the opinion of everybody at the university. So I want to be really clear about that. But I see sort of a dividing line between MBA and a specialized master's degree. Going back to that, being the expert in the room, that's where your Master of Science degrees in a specific field come in, because no MBA student is going to know as much about marketing and be as well skilled up in marketing as a Master of Science in Marketing student. And I say that as the MBA Programs director.
Right.
But the MBA is designed for being the leader in the room. It's a combination of all of these different skills, and the way that it's put together, and your ability to sort of weave the web between all of the important disciplines that make an organization run allows that individual to go into a leadership role that can help bridge the gap and make the different departments work together. It's sort of the gold standard for business leaders still to this day. So I also see if it's a gross oversimplification of the idea, but I do think MBA develops the leader, and a Master of Science in fill in the discipline there develops the expert.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, this is super helpful
Yeah.
because that's a question I have too.
Yeah.
And then that's where I was wanting to jump, working with students at the junior level. They're thinking about grad programs. They're just not sure. They want to look at option ABC, right? So as a junior, what could a business student do to help prepare them? Or, I guess basic stuff like research, but beyond that, what do you think?
I'm going to be really cheesy and go back to my opening, which is be curious, right? And what I mean by that is just be all in. And if you can, starting at your junior year level, really dive into your curriculum and start building that network and kind of going above and beyond what you see the rest of your classmates doing, you're setting yourself up. First of all, put graduate programs aside for a minute. You're setting yourself up to be a much more valuable employee in whatever job you end up going into, but then also
Your success.
making yourself much more competitive when it comes to graduate programs applications, regardless of what the graduate program is. So I think meet graduate students. Don't be afraid to go and talk to them. Come and talk to us, but I guess start acting like a graduate student.
Well, and that kind of is another question, like networking events or ways to involve undergraduate students to open that door for them. Are there opportunities like that?
Yeah, our office does quite a bit, and we actually just did a pilot program of shadowing MBA classes with 3 of our awesome faculty, where they opened their doors, let the current students meet the prospective students, and kind of get that candid reaction. And we currently do that with our executive MBA.
I love that.
Yeah.
How many students can you accept in a sense to do that?
The first, we had 5 each class, potentially looking to do that again in the future and expand it. But we also do like information sessions where they can come and meet with us. Right now they're virtual, but we're hoping to be back in person. But other things I would say too are participating in career events, even if you're not there to find a job. And so just like exposing themselves to that. I also think that career assessments are really important. And also skill assessments. The other thing I also really highlight that I absolutely love, is informational interviews.
Yeah.
I think I push that too.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, I even do it when I'm looking to be involved in the community. I've done it for board of directors. I've done it for young professional organizations I've been a part of. And you just get to have a really organic, authentic conversation with someone, and it can open doors. Someone can really like you and connect you, or you can talk about graduate programs and have like an informational interview. I can't say that now. It's a sound. But it's just having a conversation with a grad student, because I think grad students are the best ambassadors. We even have MBA ambassadors.
We do have MBA ambassadors.
I'm going on a rant.
It's okay.
So.
But I think they should talk to somebody in the field or somebody doing the work now, not what you've heard.
Yeah.
That leads to the misconception. So.
Oh man, the rumor mill. The rumor mill spins on a constant wheel, and I think what also is so impactful for students is internships.
Yes.
Because we talk about, what,
That's my wheelhouse.
because we talk about how do I know where I want to be? And I always ask students, have you done an internship? Have you experienced this area? And they'll say no. And I'm like, go do it. Especially if they're juniors, they have so much time. Even if it's a micro internship.
And I always say, like, the more you can get, the better, right? Because it allows you to do what you end up doing later on in your career of like trying one job and trying something else. And then you can really just figure out, I liked this about this job. This is what I'm looking for in a supervisor, or I really loved doing this type of work, so that when you're further along in deciding what career makes sense, it's really easy to say like, this is what I want, or you at least have a better idea, right? Because the path is always probably still going to change as you go.
I just appreciate many things that stood out within this discussion over the course of many questions, but your involvement when you were an undergrad student and how that led to different paths, right? So involvement, Eric mentioned that too. Networking, these are all things that we really try to push and strive and provide the opportunities at the undergraduate level for students, and maybe sometimes hearing where it can lead and why it's important from the grad program itself. I think it just echoes what they hear, and if they hear it enough, the importance of getting involved. It's bigger than just you. So
I have another question for you. I've decided I know what I want to get my graduate program in. I'm going to apply. What's the application process like?
It varies, but typically the most common is submitting the online application. That's the first step. You don't have to pay the application fee right up front. You can start working on it. Application itself can take about 30 minutes. It's all demographic information. It's putting in your information, your education history, your criminal and student conduct if you have any. And then it also includes residency information for tuition purposes. So make sure you have documents that have issue dates. You're going to need that. But then the other part of that, especially USF's application, includes all the supplemental documents. There are tons of documents on there that they are being asked to submit, but that's because the application is shared across every major, for every campus, for every level. So definitely the second thing I say is to talk to the admissions counselor for the program, because we can send you the right information. I know that sounds kind of like
it's so important.
like a plug, but I think that when you're looking at so many programs, it can get so overwhelming, especially when you're looking at multiple schools. Because I've worked for 2 universities now, and I shopped when I was looking for programs, so I'm very aware that students are doing that. You want to make sure it's the best fit for you. That's always my main focus when I work with students, to make sure that I'm not just putting them in a program, I'm making sure that it's the best fit for them. 2 pieces of advice.
I love it. Thank you.
Have we beat them up? I mean, ask them enough questions?
I feel like you have a couple
Don't
more
make me go back to
questions.
work.
I
Are we good?
No, I was going to say, I think we're ready to cut to the last, kind of like final 2 questions that we ask all our guests, even though it's the first steps.
Starting
today.
We're like that first domino.
Yes. If you could go back in time and give yourself career advice, what would you say and why?
Be confident.
Ooh.
I think be confident and be willing to accept mentors and sponsors. If I could go back to, sophomore Janie, as she's, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed and George Southern, just be confident, just embody the decisions that you're making, knowing that they're right for you, and how you both have mentioned that, your life's not linear and your career's not linear. And so just being open to those possibilities, happenstance, because everything that's happened to me has been happenstance. So just knowing that in every space that I've walked into, in every chapter that started, it has been there for a reason. And then a lot of that has been because of the mentors and sponsors that I've had. They've changed my life. And so being willing to accept them earlier would have been very life-changing, more.
Those are keywords, too, that sometimes are very unfamiliar. Mentors, sponsors. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. So how can our audience connect with you?
everywhere. My LinkedIn, which is my full name, Janie Mousen, and then you can find me on the Tampa campus as well as St. Pete. I go between the two campuses, and or Carrier Pigeon. That works too. It finds me.
Happy to connect on LinkedIn at Eric Douthert, all one word. You can also find me on Microsoft Teams.
I can't believe this concludes our first episode.
I know. Thank you.
Getting down to business with graduate programs for this episode. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. It was fun.
It was so fun. Thank you
fun.
so much.
Head to MUMA College of Business website. You can subscribe to our podcast and follow us on all of our social media channels at USF MUMA.
That concludes another episode of Getting Down to Business, brought to you by the Kate Tiedemann School of Business and Finance in the MUMA College of Business. Tune in every month for more career tips and expert industry advice.